Yo, B-Dub the Anime Master is back for another anime review. Today's review, Dragon Ball GT. Intro, start.
B-Dub, the Anime Master. B-Dub, the Anime Master. B-Dub, the Anime Master. B-Dub, the Anime Master. Dragon Ball Z, the Anime Master. Here we go, the Anime Master. Dragon Ball Z, the Anime Master. Here we go, the Anime Master.
Step into the grand tour. Step into the grand tour. Dragon Ball GT. Step into the grand tour. Dragon Ball GT.
Nostalgia could be a very powerful thing. Actually, it is. That was the first commercial that I saw of Dragon Ball GT being advertised by Funimation back in 2003. It was from my original purchase from the Dragon Ball Z single DVD, A New Beginning, The End of Dragon Ball Z. And man, was I excited for the English dub version of Dragon Ball GT. Great times and great memories. Nostalgia for the win. Dragon Ball GT is the sequel series from Dragon Ball Z, created by Toei Animation, and is pretty much anime only, like 100%. Akira Toriyama didn't have any type of, I guess you can say, hand in the story progression or the story elements. He only really did character designs and etc., and that's pretty much it. Not really any major involvement from the original author of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball GT ran for 64 episodes from 1996 to 1997. It only had 4 major arcs: the Black Star Dragon Ball arc, the Baby Saga, the Super 17 Saga or arc, and the Shadow Dragons arc. Out of those 4 arcs, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of Dragon Ball GT and, my memories of checking out Dragon Ball GT. Now, I watched Dragon Ball GT by the single DVDs from Funimation back in 2003. I did originally collect the first 4 or 5 DVDs, then I had stopped because it started to come on Toonami at the time, and I was like, well, why spend money on this when I can just watch it on Toonami for free? Anyways, Dragon Ball GT, in my opinion, is like some people try to bash Dragon Ball GT, and I can see where they are coming from. But with the whole new Dragon Ball, movies, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F and Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball GT doesn't really get that much hate as it did before, at least from the observation I have seen. Some people still hate it and some people still like it. I'm more on the indifferent category. It's not great, but it's not that bad either. It's kind of meh, kind of alright. Dragon Ball GT's, main premise is Goku being turned into a kid by his old nemesis, Emperor Pilaf. And that was one of the main problems I had with Dragon Ball GT. The fact that Goku is a kid again, in my opinion, was kind of stupid. Like, why? Why not have Goku be an adult? He only becomes an adult when he transforms into a Super Saiyan 4, which really doesn't make any damn sense. Anyway, Dragon Ball GT takes place about 10 years after the end of Dragon Ball Z, which is pretty cool, unlike Super, where they're kind of stuck in this timeline between, the defeat after Majin Buu to the end of Z. The first arc of Dragon Ball GT is pretty slow and boring in my opinion. The Black Star Dragon Ball stuff was kind of slow and I didn't really feel it. The only exciting thing is the Legic fight and the General Realdo stuff. Then it gets really interesting once the baby stuff comes into play, and the main characters of Dragon Ball GT is Pan, Trunks, and young childlike Goku. And that was another thing. I was really hoping that they have Goten in there and Vegeta. Vegeta really doesn't play a large role in Dragon Ball GT until the end of the series, pretty much, because Baby takes over Vegeta, Baby Vegeta, you all know these things. And Vegeta doesn't really get any importance until, he had like a small fight in the Super 17 stuff, but Vegeta doesn't really get any development until the end in the Shadow Dragon arc. Having Pan, Goku, and Trunks as the main characters was okay, but at the same time I felt like it was a bit of a limited cast. The baby arc, in my opinion, was pretty interesting with the whole Tuffle versus the Saiyan thing and the conflict. Baby Vegeta's design is pretty awesome. We also get some pretty cool moments of Super Saiyan 4 Goku versus Baby, which is pretty epic, and Oob transforming into Maju, which I think is a great concept. Was interesting, but also got cut short because his fight with Baby was pretty much short and underwhelming, and I believe that he was underutilized in Dragon Ball GT. Oob, aka Maju, not really utilized. Then we go to the Super 17 stuff where it's two Android 17s, Dr. Mew, who created the baby stuff, and Dr. Gero team up in Hell and create a new Android 17. He fuses with the Android 17 that's still on Earth, and they become Super Android 17. The whole arc is pretty short. Some of the Hell characters come back like Frieza and Cell, and Goku fights those guys and etc. And it turns into like another interesting thing with the Super Saiyan 4 versus Super 17 battle. And Vegeta has a little bit of a shining moment, unleashing a new attack called Final Shine. Then we move on to the final arc of Dragon Ball GT, the Shadow Dragon Saga, where the Dragon Balls pretty much are overused and they crack, and they release these 7 dragons, and they are like, you know, enemies now. Like the Dragon Balls become the enemies, which I think was a great and brilliant idea from Toei. A very great way to try to end the whole Dragon Ball universe by having the Dragon Balls be the main enemies, villains for the final arc. Epic. One of the giant cons for the Shadow Dragon arc is the fights. Some of the fights are silly, over the top, and can be kind of underwhelming. Some are fine, but it doesn't really get good until they fight against Nova Shenron and Ice Shenron, and of course Omega Shenron, and that's about it. Also, I really wish other characters had joined in on the battles like Gohan and Goten, hell, maybe even Tien and Yamcha. I mean, I think it would have been interesting to see other characters fight those weaker dragons and then have Goku and, you know, the stronger characters fight the stronger dragons. I think that would have been a great, you know, contrast as, you know, having these, you know, characters who've been there since the beginning of importance fight these final dragons. Overall, the Super Saiyan 4 transformations of Goku and Vegeta becoming Gogeta and the Omega Shenron fight. Then finally having Goku do the ultimate spirit bomb and taking out Omega Shenron was pretty cool. Dragon Ball GT's ending was pretty cool and interesting. After Goku does the ultimate spirit bomb on Omega Shenron, Goku just flies away with Shenron after saying his final farewell to a couple characters. Pretty sad. Then we pass 200 plus years later and we see the descendants of Goku and Vegeta, Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr., and taking place in a new tournament. Overall, Dragon Ball GT is okay. It's not that bad, it's not that great though. A lot of plot holes and, you know, continuity issues, but it's alright. I don't hate Dragon Ball GT, I just don't find it that entertaining these days. I do plan to pick up the DVD box sets pretty soon to complete my Dragon Ball collection, and there are some pretty cool shining moments like Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, Gogeta of course, Super Saiyan 4, and some of the Shadow Dragon stuff, and Baby and Super 17 to an extent. The background music for Dragon Ball GT is very infamous for the rap song that Funimation created back in 2004, Step into the Grand Tour, Grand Tour, Grand Tour, Step into the Grand Tour, Dragon Ball GT. Yeah, pretty corny, but at the time, I was loving that shit. Good nostalgia memories for the, you know, for the win. Anyway, the Japanese score for Dragon Ball GT is also pretty damn amazing. A lot of people kind of just, you know, dismiss Dragon Ball GT as a whole and don't really give it the full, I guess you can say, recognition it deserves, at least for the original soundtrack. You gotta admit, the original Japanese soundtrack for Dragon Ball GT is pretty fucking awesome. But overall, I think Dragon Ball GT, you know, is an okay series. I give it a 7 out of 10. Not bad, not great. But it's enjoyable if you're not really focused on plot holes. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Dragon Ball GT? I'm BDUB the Anime Master. Stay tuned for more anime, manga, and video game related videos. Step into the Grand Tour. Grand Tour, Grand Tour. Peace.
Dragon Ball Z, the Anime Master. Here we go, the Anime Master, nigga. Dragon Ball Z, the Anime Master. Here we go, the Anime Master.